All right, the next thing we're going to be talking about today is perimeter. We are going to review all the things that you were supposed to learn in 3rd grade about perimeter so that you make sure that you're ready for 4th grade. So first, let's talk about what perimeter is. We are going to find the perimeter of squares and hexagons and rectangles and octagons and a bunch of different shapes. And when I think of perimeter, I like to think of a fence. So think about this square as like your backyard, and you need to have a fence because let's say you have a cute little puppy and you don't want your puppy to get out of the fence. So when I think of perimeter, I think of a fence because it's all of the lines. For a square, there are 4 lines. For a triangle, there are 3 lines. You can have a triangular fence. You can have a fence in the shape of a square. You can have a fence in the shape of a rectangle. If you get really creative, you could make a fence that has 10 different sides, right? So when you think perimeter, think all of the sides added together. That's what makes up the fence, all of the sides added together. So if you're going to find the perimeter of this square, you're going to do 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So what is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3? 12 units. The answer is 12 units. Another way that you could solve this is by doing 3 times 4 because you have 3 or you have 4 threes. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. You have 4 threes. So you're going to do 3 times 4 to get 12, which is the answer, 12 units. All right. Next question, find the perimeter of this rectangle. This one's a little bit trickier. I want you to see if you can solve it. Think about the fence. You don't want your puppy to escape. What would the perimeter of this rectangle be? I will give you a hint. The answer is not 11. So this one's tricky because this line is 8, which means down here, this line is also 8, which is part of the fence. This line is 3, which means this line over here is also 3. So now see if you can solve for the perimeter of this rectangle. So the answer is not 11, but it's 11 plus 11. It's 22 because you have to do 8 plus 3 plus 8 plus 3. Okay, 8 plus 3 plus 8 plus 3. You could do 8 plus 8 plus 3 plus 3. You don't have, it doesn't matter what order you do it in. You can add them up in whatever order you want, but you will end up with 22 units if you add correctly. So the perimeter of that rectangle is 22 units. All right, it gets a little bit trickier. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 20. So this question is giving you the perimeter and it's asking you to find what one of the sides is. Okay, so let's talk about our fence. If we have just, if you can see where this red line is, if we have just this part and this top part, that's half of the perimeter, right? So the perimeter is 20. So what is half of 20? Half of 20 is 10, which means the red sides have to add up to equal 10. So 2 plus x plus something equals 10. 2 plus what equals 10? Hopefully you said 8. And let's just double check just to make sure. What is 8 plus 8? 16 plus 2 plus 2 is 20. 8 plus 8 plus 2 plus 2 is 20. 2 plus 8 is 10, and 2 plus 8 is 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. You can add it in whatever way you want, but that is how you will solve for the perimeter, or how you will solve for the side if they give you the perimeter. Okay, I like to think about it like that. I think it makes it a little bit easier. So we're going to do the same thing here. The perimeter of a square. All right, the perimeter of a square is 24 inches. What is the length of one side? So the perimeter of a square is 24 inches. Okay, 24 inches. That's the perimeter. What's the length of one side? So, well, let's think about it. We've got a square here. Square has 4 sides. In a square, all the sides are the same length. So if the perimeter is 24, then we have to divide by 4 because there are 4 different sides. So 24 divided by 4 is, hopefully you said 6. Let's just check if all the sides are 6. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, does that equal 24? Yes, it does. Okay. The perimeter of a hexagon is 30 inches. What is the length of one side? The perimeter of a hexagon is 30 inches. Okay, so we've got our perimeter is 30. Oops. Perimeter is 30. And the length, what's the length of one side? Hopefully you know how many sides a hexagon has. Think about it. Do you know? Hexagon has 6 sides, so we're going to take our perimeter and we're going to divide by 6 because there are 6 sides, which means each side has 5 inches. 5 inches for one side, and there are 6 of them. 5 times 6 is 30, and that's what the whole perimeter is, which means our answer is correct. All right, we're going to do one more like this. It's very similar, except instead of a hexagon, we're doing an octagon. An octagon, the perimeter of an octagon is 32 inches. What's the length of one side? Do you know how many sides an octagon has? We have 32 divided by, how many sides does an octagon have? 8. And that means each length, the length of one side is how many inches? 32 divided by 8 is 4 inches. Okay, so hopefully you can, when you think perimeter, think that's all the sides added up. So if an octagon, the perimeter of an octagon is 32 inches, then you have to divide by how many sides there are. If all of the sides are the same length, you will do 32 divided by 8 sides, which means each side is 4 inches. Okay. All right, what about this? Find the perimeter of this triangle. One of those sides is 4 inches. It says every side is the same length. So if every side is the same length, that means all of those sides are 4 inches, 4 inches. So the perimeter is 12 inches. Whoops. 12 inches. Got some stuff going on over here. Sorry about that. All right, 12 inches. 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. All right. Let's move on to the next slide. The perimeter of this shape. Find the perimeter of this shape. Every side is the same length. So now we need to count our sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 sides. Every side is 3 meters. There are 8 sides and every side is 3 meters. So what is the perimeter? See if you can solve this one. Hopefully you said 24 meters because 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 8 is 24. Okay, this one is a little bit trickier. So these two rectangles have the same perimeter. What is X? So we don't know what the perimeter is, but we know that they have the same perimeter. Okay, so there are a couple ways to do this. Let me show you the way that I think is the easiest. If they have the same perimeter, that means they have the same half perimeter, if that makes sense. So half of this perimeter is going to be the same as half of this perimeter because the shapes are the same, which means the red parts are going to equal each other. What is 2 plus 6? 8. 2 plus 6 is 8. 1 plus something equals 8. What's the something? Hopefully you said the something is 7 because 1 plus 7 equals 8. So do you see how I did that? 2 plus 6 equals 8. 1 plus 7 equals 8. Okay, So let's just check that to see if that works. Okay. So if the top rectangle has sides of 2 and 6, that means the perimeter is 2 plus 2 plus 6 plus 6, which is 16, right? 2 plus 2 is 4, 6 plus 6 is 12, and 12 plus 4 is 16. Okay, what about this down here? This is 7, and this is 1. So 1 plus 7 is 8, 1 plus 7 is 8, 8 plus 8 is 16. So I think it's easier just to focus on half of it. Just make sure the halves equal each other. But if you want to do the whole figure, you can as well. That you will still get the same answer. All right. This is our last question that we're going to go over today. There are two rectangles, rectangle A and rectangle B. Again, they both have the same perimeter. Rectangle A has side lengths of 6 and 5. So we're going to draw rectangle A here. It's got side lengths of 6 and 5. Rectangle B has one side length of 3. We don't know what the top one is. We need to figure out what rectangle B's other side length is. All we know is that they have the same perimeter, which means if you look at half of the perimeter, those are also going to be the same. Okay, so what is half of the perimeter of rectangle A? All you have to do is, for half of the perimeter, you do 5 plus 6, which is 11. If you wanted to find the whole perimeter, you would do 5 plus 6 plus 5 plus 6, right? So for this one, we need to say 3 plus something needs to equal 11 as well. 3 plus what equals 11? Hopefully you said 8. 3 plus 8 does equal 11. And just so that you don't get confused with perimeter, we're going to actually find the perimeters of both of these rectangles to check our answer, make sure we're right. Okay, because the perimeter is not 11. Half of the perimeter is 11. Okay, so that is also 6 and that is also 5. So 5 plus 6 is 11, and then another 5 plus 6 is another 11. 11 plus 11 is 22. So the perimeter of figure A, rectangle A, is 22. That's also 8. That's also 3. 3 plus 8 is 11, plus another 3 plus 8 is another 11. Again, 11 plus 11 is 22. So that is why we know that the other side length for rectangle B is 8, because we just checked they do have the same perimeters if the answer is 8. The perimeters are 22 for both of the rectangles. Okay, hopefully that made sense. I know we went over those things really fast. So if you have any other questions, you can go back over the video and review one more time. There is a worksheet that you can work on that has very similar questions to what you just saw in this presentation. There are the same types of questions, but just with different numbers. So if something doesn't make sense, you can always go back to the video and watch that part again. See if you understand how to do it. If you understand how to do it, you should be able to do it with any of the numbers that you see. So on the worksheet, they have different numbers, but the questions are still the same. So make sure you understand how to do it, and then you can do it with different numbers on that worksheet. Good luck on the worksheet, and I'll see you for the next video.